Hi, welcome to SBR Videos. I'm Peter Loshak. We are previewing Week 3 in college football. We're talking right now with Joe Duffy from OffshoreInsiders.com, guy who's been around for 29 years as a successful professional handicapper, and he had a successful week once again last week at his site, he tells me. Joe Duffy, thanks for being back with us.
No, that is true. This will be my 27th year full-time, but I work for Dial Sports part-time while in college, so it is about 29 years in the professional sports betting business, but thank you for having me, Peter.
All right, well, right now we're going to discuss UCLA and Texas. This is an interesting handicapping situation. We'll see what you have to say about it. Before we get to it, give a plug for OffshoreInsiders.com because, again, people need to know and remember that the picks in these videos are not your premium picks. So, you know, some people might be judging you on your record here when it's not reflective of what you do at your site for your pay customers.
Yeah, no, we're ahead in the regular season, college and pro combined. We came off a winning season in NFLX, so we are just continuing to make a fortune. And I understand that most people that the sports books did great last weekend in college and pro football. I promise you they didn't with Joe Duffy's picks clients. So my premium clients, they're laughing all the way to the bank. And I've got people who've been with me for many, many years going back to the Score Phone days, but they're now at OffshoreInsiders.com.
Okay, Joe, Texas is a home dog of a touchdown or more. Currently the line is 7 or 7.5 to UCLA, and we know why that is, right? They've been having all kinds of problems. Starting quarterback David Ash is out with a concussion. They got absolutely blown out at home by BYU last week, and they have a ton of key injuries and suspensions on the offensive line everywhere. They got a bunch of key injuries, and then Coach Strong is like suspending everyone for violating their core values. Look, if I were a football coach, there would be no core values at all for my team. But he has core values, and he's suspending everyone. Ash is out with a concussion and everything, and Texas got blown out at home by BYU last week. So, you look at this and you think Texas in a world of trouble. UCLA comes in, though, and they're not really blowing out, their competition. They're facing, somewhat mediocre competition. They only beat Memphis by 7 last week. So I was looking at this. I was thinking, is there some way that Texas is going to be able to turn things around and give a much better performance here with the same crew than they did last week? And I was thinking, yes, it was +8 last night. Now, again, it's down to 7 or 7.5. So this line is going down. My thought is Texas plus 7.5 is a side with value. I'm not sure how much value. Do you agree with that, Joe Duffy?
Yes, no, we do. And now you remember 2 weeks ago, we gave you Virginia as a free play against UCLA. And then last week as a wise guy play, one of our 3 wise guy plays where we went 2-1, we had Memphis. And that's because UCLA has developed into what we expected, a dichotomous straight up and against the spread team. And we use that in quite a few sports. But essentially, when a team is winning but not covering, you ride the spread streak, or vice versa if they're not or if they're losing but they are covering. UCLA is, I think, a perfect example. As I said, Jim Mora Jr., I think, is well deserved to be considered a great recruiter, not so much a great game coach. But keep in mind, they've had a pretty tough travel schedule. Now, they haven't necessarily played very tough opponents, but they did travel all the way across country, as we said, to Virginia 2 weeks ago. And then they did have that game against Memphis where it was maybe a little bit of a letdown. Now they're traveling a little bit to Texas. Now the game is at the Jerry Dome, but it is truly a home game for Texas.
Right.
And in fact, that Texas, they have not. They're playing their 3rd straight home game essentially. Where UCLA, it's the 2nd time they've already made a long trip. And as I said, I do believe that UCLA, it's not a surprise that they have been a little bit of a dichotomous straight up and against the spread team. Yes, of course, I'm aware of the injuries and the suspensions, but that's why Texas is a pretty big home underdog to a UCLA squad that, again, is playing making their second long road trip in 3 weeks. So, again, this is a little bit more of a situational game where you have a team that hasn't done any traveling to a team that's playing their second long road trip in 3 weeks. Nice situational game, and an upset is a possibility here.
All right, I guess the main question is, though, then, Texas got absolutely obliterated by BYU last week, and the question is, what will they be able to do different this week that'll make them competitive?
Now, and that's understandable when you lose your starting quarterback and when you have a couple other guys that are suspended. But Texas, they're a team that they still have some decent talent there, and I think they have the ability to bounce back. That's why I believe that the line is a little bit too high. I think most people are just seeing that UCLA, they're a nationally ranked team, and that they are 2-0 straight up, not realizing they have two pretty ugly wins against so-so opponents, and now that they're maybe playing their best opponent. This is really their toughest game. Playing at Virginia wasn't really a tough game than playing at home against Memphis. So this is probably their toughest battle, playing Texas in the state of Texas, and they haven't looked pretty so far. I mean, they theoretically could be 0-2. Granted, they were the better team in each of their games, but it's not like they've been impressive so far, and Texas is going to be the toughest team that they've played.
7.5 is still available, so that's what we can give you. Joe Duffy from OffshoreInsiders.com recommending a play on Texas plus 7.5 against UCLA. Thanks, Joe.
The SBR Network offers free sports picks and game breakdowns, big money free betting contests year-round, a real-time Vegas-style odds monitoring service, and much more. So come see for yourself. To stay updated on SBR news and promotions, follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Google+, and do be sure to subscribe to the Sportsbook Review YouTube channel to catch all our daily sports shows.